Hello, today we're going to be talking about the drinking age in America. This tends to be a controversial issue for some. A lot of people believe that the drinking age shouldn't change. It's fine the way it is. And then other people think that once you're 18, you're an adult and you should be able to do whatever you want to do. Today we're going to specifically talk about why the drinking age should not be lowered. And we're going to talk about the statistics that prove the point that it should not be lowered, while also visiting information on why some people do believe that it should be lowered. First, let's talk about what is alcohol. Per the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it defines alcohol as a drink that contains ethanol, which is an intoxicating agent found in fermented and distilled liquors. At this point in America, you have to be 21 years of age to purchase and or consume alcohol. This wasn't always the fact. Before 1984, depending on what state you were in, you could purchase and or drink alcohol before the age of 21. But that all changed in 1984 when the National Minimum Drinking Age Act came into place. Since the act was signed into law, there's been a great positive income from that, but there are people that still believe that the drinking age should be lowered. They're taking information at face value without knowing all the facts, and I believe that's why they are making their decisions that the alcohol drinking age should be lowered. So, imagine you have your 18-year-old child that just got out of high school. You still have to wake them up every morning to get them ready, make sure they're not late for work. They can't take care of themselves at all. You're still doing their laundry. But all of a sudden, they can purchase alcohol. These are the same kids that make split decisions that many times don't make any sense. There are people that think that these young children, even though they are legally an adult, they're still children, should be able to go out and just purchase alcohol and consume it the way adults would over 21. At any age under 21, their brain is not fully developed. There's some different, depending on which research you read, some people say 21 the age is developed. It could go as high as 25, depending if you're female or a male. But the median age is around 21 that the brain is basically fully developed. Studies have shown that drinking alcohol before 21 years of age increases alcoholism. Now, there are those that do not believe this because there's a lot of countries in Europe that allow drinking before the age of 21. What they're not knowing is that those countries also have high rates of binge drinking and high rates of alcoholism. When the Americans are asked how they feel about it, 72% say that no, the drinking age needs to stay at 21. They don't want it lowered. But then there's 28%, which is almost a third of Americans that think that the drinking age should be lowered. Before the age of 21, the mind is not fully developed at all. The frontal lobe, which is exactly what it sounds like, it's the front lobe of the brain, which controls your impulses, is not fully developed. Since your impulses are not controlled, this is the part of your brain that says when you get angry, if you're going to react very quickly, if you're surprised, how you're going to react. It's associated with things like ADD, ADHD. That part of the brain's not fully developed. And Laura Dean Moonley did research and stated in her research that the inhibition and emotional regulation is not fully matured until around 21 either. Inhibition and emotional regulation is exactly what it sounds like. It's what are your inhibitions and how fast you react to them. emotionally, how are your emotions regulated? When you drink alcohol, one of the big chemicals in it is ethanol. The CDC says that the ethanol interferes with the brain's communication signals and pathways. This is a huge thing, being that the brain is made for communication signals and pathways. When you're using a depressant, when you're drinking something that has a depressant in it and it's slowing those communication signals and pathways down, this could end up being very deadly if you are not able to react as fast as you should. These alcohol also has an intoxicating agent. An intoxicating agent is considered a poison, and where it also affects you mentally and physically, and your control is markedly diminished. Now, people on the other side of the spectrum say, you know what? If you're old enough to join the military, you are old enough to drink alcohol. Those 2 points really have nothing to do with each other. The federal government allows people at age 18 to join the military because they are moldable. They are able to mold them into the soldier that the government wants them to be. If you talk to any military leader, any commanding officer, they do not want these young kids they are not mature to be drinking an intoxicating agent. And once again, the intoxicating agent can drug you to the point where your physical and mental control is markedly diminished. So back in 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed the National Minimum Drinking Age Act into the works. For the states that did not comply with this, they were threatened that they would not receive federal highway funding. The reason for this is, say, if Delaware allowed drinking under 21, but Maryland did not, the kids from Maryland would drive into Delaware to get their alcohol legally, because they could legally buy it and consume it here. And then they would go back to Maryland driving drunk. The president made it so that, you know what, if they're going to drive on your roads, then and you're going to sell it to them after we're saying it's not a good idea, we're just not going to give you any federal highway funding. It was an ingenious idea. The whole country got on the bandwagon with it. After that law was put into effect, thousands of lives were saved. Approximately 1,000 a year. That's 1,000 families that were not affected by drunk driving. And they saw a 16% decline in alcohol-related accidents. That's almost 20%, almost a fifth of accidents went down after this law was put into effect. Now, the other side of the spectrum, the people that agree that they think that the alcohol drinking age should be lowered. They think that these numbers went down because their airbags got better, the education got better, seatbelts were better, safer cars were made. And this is what helped reduce the alcohol-related accidents involving adolescents. Thing is, you can have the highest rated safe car in the world with someone who just went through alcohol education. They could be wearing their seatbelt and have a fully functional airbag. But if they are drunk, that ethanol has taken effect on their brain, that intoxicating agent has diminished their ability to think clearly, they can get an accident. Laura Rogerson stated in her research that 1.4 out of every 100,000 we would drop in the mortality rate if drinking age were to be lowered. That research doesn't even make any sense. Based on the stats, not conjecture, the stats show that that is not the case. The National Minimum Drinking Age Act, the biggest thing it did is it let us as Americans guide and set limits for our youth. Alcoholism and binge drinking. Alcoholism is a chronic disorder marked by excessive and usually compulsive drinking of alcohol and leading to psychological and physical dependence or addiction. So it's not even just a physical addiction, it is a psychological addiction. It affects your brain. Binge drinking is when you drink 4 to 5 drinks within 2 hours and having a blood alcohol content level of 0.08% or higher. We're talking about alcoholism and binge drinking because stats show in other countries that they have high rates of alcoholism and high rates of binge drinking. They go hand in hand. And in these other countries, the alcohol drinking age is lower than what it is right here in America. Now, with alcoholism and binge drinking, you have side effects. It can affect your brain, your liver, your heart, your pancreas, and your immune system. It has also been linked to certain types of cancers. We need to remember that drinking alcohol is a privilege. No one is given the constitutional right to drink alcohol at any age. It's not there. From 1933, when the break of Prohibition happened, to 1984, when the 21 Law was enacted, it took America that long to decide that, hey, we need to figure out something and help save our youth. We need to get these numbers down. It took that long for us to decide that it's time for us to do it. But that's when we decided we're going to teach the kids that with privileges, there has to be a level of maturity. And scientifically, before you're 21, you are not scientifically capable of having that level of maturity that we need you to have. By making this such a big deal with the act, it made it so that we can try and save the youth from further alcohol-related problems. There is zero scientific research that shows that it's a good idea to lower the drinking age, but there's over 50 reliable scientific studies that prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that lowering the age would be detrimental. We need to remember that the benefits to not lowering the drinking age outweigh the benefits to lowering it. And the health and safety of our youth and our country is greater than all the money you can make from selling alcohol and all the fun and luxury you would have from drinking it. Thank you.